Ever notice how confident you are at work, but freeze when it comes to building something of your own? That's not a confidence problem, that's conditioning. You were trained to wait for permission, trained to doubt your own thinking, trained to believe someone else always knows better than you. And once you understand how the system taught you to not trust yourself, you'll finally understand why stepping out on your own feels so hard. I'm Mark Casto. I built a six-figure digital product business by trusting my God-given wisdom that I already had before I had permission, credentials, or a big platform. I grew an audience of a small handful to over 200,000 people by sharing insight, not chasing trends or trying to fit into someone else's mold. And what I've learned over the years is this: most people don't struggle with confidence because they lack ability. They struggle because they were trained to outsource their God-given authority. From the time we were kids, we were taught to look outside of ourselves for approval. Grades told us what we were worth, titles told us that we were qualified, and bosses told us when our ideas actually mattered. So now, even as adults with experience and wisdom and real-life insight, we still hesitate. We second guess ourselves. We wait. We wonder if we're allowed to lead, create, or build something of our own. So in this episode, I want to help you see the truth. You don't actually lack confidence. You lack permission, and the system trained you to wait for it. So today we're going to expose how that happened, why self-trust was slowly trained out of you, and how entrepreneurs reclaim authority, not by becoming someone new, but by remembering who they already are. If you've ever felt called to build something, but struggled to trust your own voice, this episode is for you. Now, before we go any further, let me pause for just a moment. If you're watching this and something inside of you is already resonating, if you know you're carrying wisdom that could help people, but you've never been shown how to turn that into real income, I want to give you something. I put together a free on-demand training where I break down the 3 secrets to turning your God-given wisdom into a thriving digital product business. This is not theory. This is not hype. This is the actual framework that I use to build a 6-figure business by packaging what I already knew without a massive following, without fancy credentials, and without a lot of tech skills. In that training, I show you how to identify the wisdom that you already have that people will pay for, how to package it into a digital product that the market actually wants, and how to build income around your message without trading more of your time. So if that sounds like something you want clarity on, click the link below, watch the free training, do that before you go any further. Okay, let's jump back into the episode. So let's start with something that quietly controls more lives than almost anything else. You were trained to wait. From the earliest years, the system rewarded one thing above all else: permission-based behavior. You didn't speak unless your hand was raised. You didn't move unless the bell rang. You didn't decide what mattered. The curriculum did. You didn't set the pace. The system did. And when you followed the rules, you were praised. When you stayed quiet, you were rewarded. When you colored inside the lines, you were labeled a good student. But if you questioned, if you challenged, if you moved ahead of instruction, you were corrected. Not because you were wrong, but because you were early. And early thinkers threaten systems that rely on control. So you adapted. You learned how to wait. You learned how to read the room. You learned how to suppress instinct. You learned how to defer to authority. And that conditioning didn't stop when school ended. It followed you straight into adulthood. At work, the rules changed slightly, but the message stayed the same. Don't speak unless asked. Don't challenge leadership publicly. Don't move faster than the system allows. Don't create outside your role. Don't overstep. And slowly, something dangerous became normal. You learned to associate leadership with permission only. Employees, the way that they think is they wait to be chosen. But entrepreneurs choose themselves. But if you've been trained your whole life to wait, then self-authorization feels rebellious. And that's why starting something of your own feels terrifying. Not because you can't do it, but because no one ever told you you're allowed. All right, I want to talk to you about how the system broke self-trust. Here's the truth that most people never slow down long enough to see. You didn't lose self-trust suddenly. It was slowly outsourced piece by piece. First off, grades replaced intuition. As a child, you weren't taught to evaluate your own understanding. A report card did that for you. A number told you how smart you were. A letter told you where you ranked. A score told you whether your thinking was acceptable. You didn't ask, does this make sense to me? You asked, is this the right answer? And the right answer always lived outside of you. And so over time, your internal compass weakened. Secondly, credentials replaced confidence. As you grew older, the message became clear. You'll be ready when you're certified. You'll be qualified when you graduate. You'll be legitimate when you have the title. So instead of trusting lived experience, you were trained to trust credentials. Even now, you hear it in people's language. I just need one more course. I'm not an expert yet. Who am I to teach this? Friend, that's not humility, that's conditioning. Thirdly, performance reviews replaced identity. Guys, then came the workplace. Your value was measured annually. Your ideas were filtered through hierarchy. Your initiative was capped by policy. You learned to associate worth with approval. So now, when you sit down to create something of your own, whether it's a course, a program, a message, a business, there's no boss, no grade, no review, just you. And that discomfort you feel, that's hesitation. Guys, that's not fear. It's withdrawal from a lifetime of outsourced authority. Guys, self-doubt is not a personality flaw. It's a learned response. You weren't born second-guessing yourself. You were trained into it. And the moment you see that clearly, shame disappears and power starts to return. Now, here's where it gets even deeper, because even when people know they have good ideas, even when they feel the pull to create, most of them still say they still stay silent. Why? Because the system didn't just train them to wait for permission. It trained them to fear being wrong. And that's exactly what we're unpacking next, okay? So here's the part that most people misunderstand about confidence. People don't hesitate because they're unsure. They hesitate because they're afraid of being wrong in public. Adam Grant, in his book Originals, he uncovered something absolutely fascinating. The people who change the world aren't the ones who are always right. They're the ones who are willing to speak before certainty arrives. Now, original thinkers, they don't wait until they feel 100% confident. They move at 60% clarity and then refine along the way. But the system trained you to do the opposite. In school, being wrong had consequences. Lower grades, public correction, embarrassment, labels. And guys, you learn something really dangerous. Being wrong equals being unsafe. And now, as an adult, that belief quietly governs your decisions. You don't post the idea. You don't launch the offer. You don't start the channel. You don't speak up in the meeting. You don't trust the nudge. Not because you don't have ideas, but because you don't want to risk being wrong. See, Adam Grant points out something really crucial in his book. Conformists wait for consensus. Originals, they speak while the room is still undecided. Entrepreneurs, they're really not the bravest people in the room. They're just the least afraid of iteration. They don't need to be right. They need to be moving. But if you were trained in a system where wrong answers were punished instead of explored, then creation feels dangerous. And this is why so many people stay stuck in planning mode forever. Planning feels safe. Preparation feels responsible. Waiting feels wise. But it's actually fear dressed up as wisdom. So here's the shift. Entrepreneurs don't ask, am I right? They ask, will I learn something by trying? See, that single question is the difference between stagnation and movement. Okay, let's talk about something that's been misunderstood and over-spiritualized. Imposter syndrome. People say things like, I just don't feel qualified. I'm not the expert. Who am I to teach this? Someone else probably knows way more than me. See, that sounds humble, but it's not humility. It's outsourced authority. Imposter syndrome is what happens when experience is discounted. Wisdom is minimized. Lived knowledge is ignored. Authority is tied to credentials instead of results. See, the system taught you you're not the authority, someone else is. So even when you've lived it, survived it, solved it, helped others with it, you still hesitate. But here's the truth entrepreneurs understand. The market values results, not resumes. People don't pay for degrees. They pay for outcomes. Matter of fact, most people have paid for degrees and then realized they got scammed because they got trained by people who never did the thing that they were teaching them in. Guys, people don't pay just for degrees. They pay for outcomes. They don't ask, where did you study? They ask, can you help me? And here's the uncomfortable reality. Every time you silence your wisdom, someone else without your integrity fills the gap. Not because they're better, but because they were willing to speak. And that's not arrogance, that's responsibility. Humility is knowing you don't know everything. Imposter syndrome is pretending that you know nothing. And entrepreneurs operate in the middle. I don't know everything, but I know enough to help. And that's authority. Now, let's anchor this truth in a story that perfectly captures everything we're talking about. You heard about this in Sunday school, David and Goliath. See, most people focus on the giant, but the real lesson is in the armor. David was never trained. He was never trained like Saul. He didn't have the credentials. He didn't have the rank. He didn't have approval. But when Saul tried to give David his armor, his way, his tools, his system, David tried it on and immediately knew, this doesn't fit me. Scripture says that David took it off and said he couldn't fight in it. Why? Because borrowed armor restricts movement. It slows you down. It disconnects you from what you've already developed in private. See, David trusted what was already in his hands, a sling, a stone, skill developed in obscurity, confidence that was forged in isolation, and that's where the breakthrough happens. David didn't ask permission to fight. He didn't wait to be qualified. He didn't adopt Saul's system to look legitimate. He trusted what had been shaped in him over time. See, that's entrepreneurial thinking. Entrepreneurs don't wait for the system's tools. They use what they've already mastered. And here's the line that I want you to hear clearly, okay? You don't need new armor. You need confidence in the tools already in your hands, your experience, your wisdom, your story, your solutions. That's what defeats giants. Now, here's the turning point. If the system broke self-trust, then the solution must rebuild it. And this is where digital products become more than a business model. They become a restoration mechanism. So here's the part most people don't expect. Digital products aren't just a business model. They're a mirror. They force you to confront a question that the system taught you to avoid. Do I trust my own wisdom enough to put it into the world? See, when you create a digital product, there's no boss approving it, no committee validating it, no institution stamping it. Guys, it's just you and your insight. And that's uncomfortable at first because the system trained you to outsource authority. But here's what happens when you push through that discomfort. You create something. Someone uses it and it helps them. That single moment does more to rebuild self-trust than years of mindset work. Why? Because creation and being creative restores confidence. Every digital product does three things simultaneously. And these are three powerful things. Number one, it validates your experience. You stop asking, is this valuable? Because the market answers for you. Secondly, it trains you to lead without permission. Guys, you don't wait to be chosen. You choose yourself and then you watch it work for somebody else. Thirdly, it converts wisdom into proof, not theory, not potential, results. And this is why so many people stay stuck in learning mode, because learning feels safe, but creating feels exposed. But entrepreneurs don't become confident because they create. They become confident because they create, okay? Digital products give you the immediate feedback loops. What resonates? What helps? What needs refining? And every loop strengthens trust in your own judgment. Guys, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. So let me speak to you directly now. You are not confused. You're conditioned. You are not insecure. You're just under-authorized. And you're not unqualified. You're underutilized. And the system trains you to believe someone else decides when you're ready. Someone else validates your ideas. Someone else gives permission to lead. But entrepreneurs live by a different rule. Authority comes from responsibility, not approval. Your job is not your ceiling. Your paycheck is not your value. Your employer doesn't get to determine your identity. You are a steward of God-given wisdom. You are a carrier of solutions, a builder, whether you've owned that or not. And here's the hard truth. If you don't trust your wisdom enough to release it, someone else with half your talent and less of your integrity, they will. Not because they're more qualified, but because they were willing to act. So this is the moment to stop waiting, to stop asking, am I allowed? And start asking, who needs what I know? See, the shift from employee to entrepreneur, it doesn't start with a business plan. It starts with self-trust. And the fastest way to rebuild it is to create something that helps someone else. So if this episode hits you, if you're realizing that you don't lack confidence, it's just that you lack permission. I want to help you take the next step. I created a free on-demand training where I walk you through 3 secrets to turning your God-given wisdom into a thriving digital product business, okay? In that training, I show you how to identify the wisdom that you already have that people will pay you for. I also teach you how to package it into a digital product. And guys, here's the good news. Not only do I teach you how to package the digital product, but I teach you how to do it without needing credentials or a big following. And I'm going to show you how to build income around your message without trading more of your time. So if you're ready to stop waiting and start building, I want you to click the link below, watch the free training now. This isn't about hype. It's about alignment. And friend, you were never broken. You were trained and conditioned to think this way. And now, guess what? You get to choose differently. I'll see you in the next video.